Rajni, what's wrong?
Tom, I have a script and I don't know what to do with it. Should I burn it? Feed it to my cat?
You need some writers group therapy.
Hello and welcome to Writers Group Therapy.
I'm Tom.
And I'm Roshni. We're writers helping writers. Are you ready for your session? The doctors are in. So guys, we have a confession. We have bad taste. We have horrible taste. We have horrible taste in movies and TV.
We all have our guilty pleasures. We all have movies that we think are fantastic, but everyone else, just dumps on. So we're going to talk about some of our favorites that other people hate.
Do you want to start or shall I?
I've got a pretty easy one because I don't know if anyone else liked this movie. I really liked M. Night Shyamalan's Lady in the Water.
I have not seen it.
It stars Paul Giamatti and Bryce Dallas Howard, and it's about a community living in an apartment complex, and it's kind of a fairy tale about a nymph that comes out of the pool at the apartment complex and is found by the superintendent played by Paul Giamatti. And I'm not sure why people didn't like it so much. I think there was a period where people were just hating on M. Night for some reason, because he was such a huge success with The Sixth Sense, and he did
say that 5 times fast.
The Sixth Sense, yeah, with The Sixth Sense and The Village and Signs. Those were all pretty big hits, and so this one came out, and I guess it just didn't match up to those. But I think, as a writer, especially, I felt that it was a little playful, a little lighter, and the characters. In fact, one of the characters is a writer who are a writing critic, so he's almost critiquing the story as it goes, which is kind of a little in joke. But it was I just really enjoyed it. The characters had really great storylines, and it all kind of connected really well. So I really enjoyed it, and it's my guilty pleasure. So other people just didn't like it. I watch it again and again, and I still enjoy it. So,
I mean, without spoilers, I heard it wasn't scary. Like Signs is scary or creepy, Sixth Sense is creepy, but I heard Lady in the Water wasn't a horror film.
I would agree. Oh yeah, definitely not a horror film. There is some action to it. There is a creature or some creatures that are part of the story that are trying to get the nymph that Paul Giamatti's character Cleveland is protecting. So it's about stepping out of your comfort zone and being well, actually, Paul Giamatti's character is kind of introverted. He used to be a doctor, and his family was killed in an accident, and so he's kind of become the superintendent of a apartment building because he's kind of closed himself off to the world. And this interaction with this mystical person, kind of opens him up and shows him to be alive again. And I thought that was a really powerful, arc for his character, that he has to become, strong and not be afraid of the world and not, I don't know if he was suicidal or not, but he was just really not, he's a very unhappy person at the beginning of the movie. And I think at the end of the movie, he feels like he's accomplished something, that he saves Bryce's character, and he feels like, I have a reason to live now. I've thwarted evil, because he thought he could never do that because of what happened to his family.
So maybe the reason people didn't like it, because I remember seeing the trailers and it looked like a horror film. So maybe people thought, oh, it's a horror film, and then they go in and it's not what they thought.
And after, M. Night's other movies, you might, expect that too. So I could see how they would be, misled maybe. And the trailers showed all the action and stuff, but it's really more of a heartfelt fantasy movie with some action, and it just has some really unique characters that are really fun, I felt. So if you can kind of take those parts of it and kind of look at it from that perspective, I think people would really enjoy the movie. But if you come in thinking M. Night Shyamalan, horror, scary, with big twists and stuff, this one doesn't have that big a twist to it. It's kind of more linear.
Yeah, that's cool, huh?
So what's your big guilty pleasure?
Oh my gosh. I like to tell people that I have a TV curse because if I like a show and I don't watch, to be fair, I actually don't watch a ton of TV or stuff. I mostly go to films. I've been trying to get more into TV stuff just because I'm an actor. We should be watching more TV. And then if you're writing a spec script, but if I watch a show fairly religiously, it goes off the air within about 2 seasons. So I think
Don't
I just
watch my show, please.
like,
Don't.
that's what people tell me. They're like, "Oh my gosh," because they'll be like, "Oh, have you seen Game of Thrones?" I'm like, "You don't want me to watch it," it'll go off. But let me see here. So let me name all the shows that I've liked that have gone off within 2 seasons: Dinotopia, Covington Cross, Joan of Arcadia, and this one made it to a rare three, but season 3 wasn't very good. The BBC version of Robin Hood.
Oh, I'm on board with you there with the BBC. What, people didn't like that?
Well, I have the DVD set. I watched it through season 2. I cannot get into season 3. Do you want me to spoil it for you?
I've watched
Oh,
it.
you watched
I
it.
loved it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So, spoiler alert for all of you guys. If you are thinking of watching it, this is a spoiler alert. Just mute it for like a couple seconds here. But they kill Marion at the end of season 2, and it was so hard for me to get into season 3 because of that. I just felt like it wasn't as good. So that's why I haven't really finished season 3. But
Oh.
to me, that kind of really just, I mean, it's the legend. She's alive, so why did you do that? Don't get me wrong, it was a great death scene, but yeah, I have a penchant for shows that don't make it.
Yeah, I only have one. I mean, I'm a sci-fi nerd, so there's a lot of sci-fi shows that get canceled after one season. Firefly, everyone, that had a huge cult following after it got canceled. It even got a feature film out of it. So that was one of them. So I'm not alone in that respect. There was a TV show called Space Above and Beyond that was really hardcore science where, there was a kind of humans versus an alien race, and that was really I thought a really good, kind of war drama, but with sci-fi, a sci-fi element. That got canceled after one season. Joss Whedon's one of my favorite, show producers. He did Buffy, of course, that did great, but then he did the Dollhouse, which was kind of a unique sci-fi film that show that didn't quite catch on.
Well, I think with a lot of the shows that I named, a lot of them are fantasy or sci-fi. Covington Cross, Dinotopia, and Robin Hood's kind of fantasy, but they shot that on location. But a lot of them I think were just too expensive to do. Covington Cross was like shot in a castle in England. So that one was like 13 episodes, and in fact, that one died because of a very interesting reason. That was when Ross Perot decided to preempt primetime television. He was running as an independent. It was an election year, and
Really?
yeah, he bought up time on TV to kind of do like a fireside chat thing, and it happened to be that spot. And so the show debuted, it aired like maybe 2 episodes. Then he bought up a ton of primetime airtime, and when the show tried to come back, there was no following because everyone had forgotten about it.
Oh,
Yeah, so it died for a very
wow.
interesting reason. And also if you watch it is expensive. It's cheesy as all get out, but I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Dinotopia, I think that one came out when I was in college, and I would come home because I didn't have TV at in my dorm room, and I'd come home and I'd watch it when I was visiting my mom, and it was so cheesy. I don't know what it is. I guess I really just love cheesy TV.
Couple other movies on my list were the 1980s Matthew Broderick Godzilla version of Godzilla. A lot of people hated that.
Wait, Matthew Broderick was in Godzilla?
Yeah, yeah, he played like a
No.
scientist that was brought in by the I don't know, brought in by the mayor of New York or somebody to try to track down this
No.
lizard in New York. Yeah, and
Are you
it
kidding
also
me?
starred Hank Azaria as a cameraman, so he was funny.
Wait, is this a TV movie? I gotta see this now. This is not.
No, no, it was a feature film. It was a Emmerich, Ronald Emmerich,
What's it
big, huge.
called?
It's called Godzilla. I can give you. I think I have it
Do you
somewhere.
have the DVD?
Um,
Because
I
I'm like, I
possibly
am
do.
not. I cannot put Godzilla and Matthew Broderick together in my head.
Yeah.
Wow.
The movie. I mean, seeing the recent Godzilla movie with Bryan Cranston, that one. They really went back to the traditional Japanese vision of Godzilla, and that was just much more true I mean, that wasn't great, but it was much more true to the original stories. The one they did in the 80s was a very different kind of film. It was Godzilla was nowhere near the same, kind of creature as he was in the Japanese, you know, canon of Godzilla lore. Looked completely different. Looked more like just a dinosaur, kind of wandering around New York City and eating fish and laying eggs. It was kind of interesting. But the characters I thought were funny, and it was also done a little on the comedic side. Now, if you look at the Godzilla stories of the past, Godzilla is the main character, and the humans are kind of secondary to what Godzilla is trying to do. Godzilla is usually the good guy who's actually trying to fight the evil monsters. In the one that they did in the 80s, Godzilla is just a creature who happens to migrate into Manhattan, and the military is trying to stop him. So it's not the same Godzilla story. So from that perspective, it was a total failure because they really went in a completely different direction with the story. But as a movie with the characters and the action, I thought it was still fun.
I'm still wow. I'm
You're still on the
still
whole Matthew
I'm
Broderick thing,
still
yeah.
trying to wrap my head around that one. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
While I've really enjoyed the recent Planet of the Apes movies, the first of the newer generation of those with Mark Wahlberg, that was panned pretty horribly. Ironically, it also starred Paul Giamatti, same who was in
So
Lady
you
in the
just you
Water.
just like Paul
Yeah,
Giamatti. Yeah.
I like Paul Giamatti. Yeah, I like anything Paul Giamatti's in. But I thought it was a pretty fun movie. It was definitely, it definitely was on the campier side. It really didn't fall on either spectrum of the original uh, Planet of the Apes movies from my childhood or the newer ones. It has a completely different tone and feel to it with the characters and the. I mean, they really made like an ape planet. Like the apes were very humanized in this versus in the new version, the apes are actually still apes. They live in the woods, but they're trying to build their own society and they're just trying to do their own thing. They don't try to be humans, which is what they did in the Tim Burton one with Mark Wahlberg in that one. So that was a little bit off-putting, I think, for some people because they literally had, you know, houses and kitchens and they had businesses and so that that actually was a little bit more like the older movies, but I think it was more like trying to remake the older ones versus trying to do something cool and new and unique, like what they've done with the ones starting with James Franco and Caesar, the what's his name, Andy Sakaris, who did that, who won Oscars, I think, for doing the ape motion capture stuff.
Andy Serkis?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. You said Sakaris. I was like, who's that?
sorry,
That's
thank
okay.
you, my pronunciation's off there. My bad. Sorry, Andy.
It's funny. Speaking of, sorry, I'm still stuck on the Matthew Broderick thing. Speaking
You're
of,
never gonna let that go, are you?
it just does not compute. Like even from yeah, I'm just like my brain's like just exploded. Godzilla and Matthew Broderick. But speaking of really campy movies, I don't know if you ever saw this. It was a TV movie. They played it a few times, and then it actually came out on DVD a couple years later. And again, it's so bad. It's so bad. It's so cheesy. It's called Camp Cucamonga. Have you seen it?
No, I can honestly say
Okay.
no.
You're like, thank goodness. So it's this campy camp movie, and it starred all the big names of the 80s. So like Julia White, Candace Cameron's in it. The girl who played Winnie Cooper. What's her name again?
I want to Danica Miller. No,
Yeah, McKellar, Danica
McKellar.
McKellar. She's in
Yeah.
it, and then one of her Wonder Years co-stars is in it. Not Kevin Arnold, but the other one. So anyway, so it's just this really cheesy camp movie, and it's oh my gosh, it's hilarious, and I absolutely loved it. I ended up buying it on DVD. Jennifer Aniston is in it in one of her very first roles.
Oh.
Yeah, but it's funny because she wasn't a name at the time. So when it was on TV, they were pushing all the teenage stars because those were the people on TV at the time. Now on DVD, it's like Jennifer Aniston in, because she's the bigger name. But again, talk about a guilty pleasure. Oh my gosh, it's hilariously campy.
Was that pre-Office Space?
I believe so. I think it was let me see. I want to say it was an NBC production. I think if you follow her career at all, she had a couple pilots that failed before she landed Friends. So I think this was in that time period where she hadn't gotten Friends because it wasn't on the horizon yet. And she was like on a couple different TV shows that weren't quite taking off. So she was building a name, but you really didn't know who she was. So she's got brown hair in it.
Huh.
Because
Okay.
she's normally a blonde. Like she just like
Yeah.
it's her, but like yeah, completely different. Talk about a guilty pleasure. So, how about for you guys? What are some of your guilty pleasure TV shows and movies? Let us know about your bad taste at Writers Group Therapy. You can reach us on Twitter at WG Therapy, at writersgrouptherapy.com. Also, let us know on the Facebook page, Writers Group Therapy Facebook page. Let us know, get the discussion rolling. And if you like what you hear, subscribe and share it with your friends. We'll see you next week.